Thank you everybody for joining us for this committee of the whole, November 21st, 2022. We acknowledge that the city of Fernie is located within Kukit-Hamakis, the unceded traditional territory of Yakinikliit. We recognize that we live and work within their vast lands. Akanahunik are from Yakinikliit and are members of the Tanaha speaking peoples of British Columbia, Idaho, and Montana. Call this meeting to order. And the following resolution, that if the communication link of the specified place for this meeting is interrupted and cannot be restored within 15 minutes, the meeting shall adjourn and reconvene to the soonest possible time that quorum can be achieved and public notice requirements met. Councillor Hamilton, seconder, Councillor Shoesmith. All in favor? Thank you. We will move on to approval of the agenda, but we will have to strike item 2.2 as Councillor McIsaac is unable to attend this evening. So I'll ask for a mover to approve the agenda as amended. Councillor Kelly, Councillor Hamilton seconds. All in favor? Thank you. There are no minutes to adopt, so we'll move on to inviting public participation. And before we begin, I'd just like to read the following. Speakers must not address council regarding a matter for which a public hearing must be held or has been held pursuant to the Local Government Act prior to council's consideration of the matter or the adoption of the bylaw. Speakers must not address council regarding a permit for which public notice must be given or has been given pursuant to the Local Government Act prior to council's consideration of issuance of the permit, and a speaker may only address council for a maximum of 3 minutes. Are there any delegations or presentations? I don't believe there are any.
No, we open it now to the public to see if they want to speak.
Okay, I hereby open it to the public. Does anybody want to speak?
And we watch for them to raise the virtual hand if they know what they're doing.
So I need to have my participant be here.
There are 4 in attendance.
They are indeed. Seeing no.
No, but it might not be a bad idea to remind people if they were interested how to raise their virtual hand potentially. If that's at the bottom, it says raise hand. If they click on that, if that's what they want to do. But if not, then you're free to move on.
Focus a moment. And seeing none, we will move on. Which brings us to item number 7. Councillor, or sorry, Corporate Officer McConnell.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. So at this point, I'm going to share my screen. And it's been a while since I've done a presentation to council. So I'm hoping to remind myself of the truth. Okay. So apologize. So what I'm bringing forward to committee of the whole is this is before council makes a decision on the upcoming 2020-23 agenda. One of the things that council has to do at the end of every year is it has to set the schedule for the following year's council meetings, and then we have to advertise it in accordance with both the community charter and with the council procedure bylaw. So as I go through this presentation, a couple of things I'm going to be asking council to consider is not just the schedule, but also the location, because council's made it clear that they are wanting to open up meetings to the public again. To be fair, that has been a direction we've been seeking for a while. So it's not just this new council that's been looking for this, and we have been working at this for a while. But the choice of a location will have some impact on the scheduling. So things to consider in making these determinations are attendance by members of council, either in person or by electronic means. The council procedure bylaw allows council members to attend either electronically or in person. And so we have to create an environment in which that is enabled. Second thing, of course, is your own availability. As much as the schedule has been followed as Mondays, evenings and late afternoons, that's been based on council's availability and so on. So in developing this schedule, you guys own it, and where we take it is owned by you as well. It's very important for you to be able to, I think Councilor Ramadas, maybe your microphone and there. Thank you. So working with that. And then finally, providing all members of the public the ability to attend and or participate as permitted in meetings. So participation would be the public participation period or delegation or public hearing. Those are the opportunities. And so providing those three things are met, we're able to advance this. So first I'll talk about this current practice and what it provides. As much as it feels like it's not the best method, it delivers everything that we've been instructed to do. It allows for council members to attend in person electronically. It provides for delegations and members of the public to attend and present. Members of the public, regardless of mobility concerns, are treated equally. As Fernie important was identified in 2020. The specified place, which we have a motion at the beginning, which is over at the operations building, is an accessible space. It's always open during open sessions of council. It allows for persons who do not have the ability to watch online or watch through Facebook or however they want to participate, to go to that place and watch. It's entirely set up for that purpose. And then it also provides that persons who are not physically able to attend this space are not treated differently from persons who are. So you can probably imagine coming here to present is more empowering than attending electronically. So everybody is treated the same way, that way, when it comes to attending to you. Today, the primary direction I'm seeking is the dates of the meetings. Setting the 2023 schedule based on the legislative requirement, because we do have a space that provides everything we're obligated to do. The secondary direction being sought is the meeting location, ensuring that when we do land on a place for in-public attendance, any location that we do choose does require improvement. So you'll see in my document that I've talked about that a bit. We do have a recommendation that we do look at the senior center for the location for a number of reasons. But things to note about it right now, when we're talking about scheduling, is that space is not available to us on Mondays. Then Monday is their most sacred of scheduling dates. So it is available to us at the times we require, 4 o'clock and 7 o'clock right now, on Tuesdays or Wednesdays. It does require investment. Any facility that we change to will require investment from the city to provide upgrades to electronics to enable the service level of internet connection that we will require, as well as the security level of internet connection we will require. And Director Jansen's here to help answer some of those questions. So we will be seeking council direction as to location prior to advancing any upgrades, which will then enable us to move to that location. So I've set out kind of 3 options as to what we want to potentially look at. But again, it's your schedule, you own it. We could continue with it exactly as we are, scheduling the second and fourth Mondays for the regular meeting and the third Monday for committee of the whole. Then when we are able to actually change the location, we would then come back and do a resolution to amend the schedule as well as the location. We could, if council so chose, immediately start in January with the second and fourth Tuesdays for regular meetings and the third Tuesday for committee of the whole. We would not be changing location until we're ready to change it because the upgrades aren't going to be made before Christmas, recognizing the timeline. But as soon as the capacity for us, and we've tested everything over at the senior center, if that's where we go, we could then move the meeting location as well. Understand that that also requires a resolution of council to set the space. So we would be bringing that back saying, hey, guess what, we get to change and bring that resolution. Your other option is to tell us something entirely different. I will say this, I've spoken to the senior center around dates and times, and we can make Tuesdays work for sure. There is a rental arrangement that will have to be made, as well as we've taken it to senior staff and to management to talk about a change as well. And there are some areas that affects personal life, but they're all acknowledging that they're in a position to potentially make those changes. So here's my presentation, Your Worship.
Thank you, Mr. McConnell.
So it's now open to you to tell us what to do.
Any initial reactions from council you'd like to share? Council Hammond.
Do we have a sense of what the cost would be to rent the senior center
Yeah, it's about $450 to $500 a month.
per month?
Per month.
Follow-up question.
Absolutely.
Your worship stuff, do we know what the rough estimate is for the technology upgrades?
That's to Director Jansen and suggestion.
Sure. Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship, through the Councillor Hamilton. We have ballpark cost estimates that we put together to revise the modular unit in this facility. But we haven't looked at that facility. There are additional challenges where we need to bring in servicing to the facility and then look at additional security cabinets and physical modular changes because it's not our space and that would take down. So part of this report would be that, you know, we're seeking direction from you so that we can go and get those numbers.
Any other feedback from council? Well, I would ask the change of dates and recognizing it's not our intention to unfairly inconvenience staff in particular, but I'd also put it to council. If we moved it to Tuesday night starting in January, is that doable for folks?
Would be acceptable.
Okay. So what sort of detailed direction do you need from us to pursue the location and
I don't think
change
we-
of dates?
Right, I don't think we need further direction to pursue the location. I think we've been kind of empowered to do that.
Yeah.
So looking to Mr. Vaughan asking for that, Your Worship, he nodded his head yes. So I think we've been already empowered to do that. I would simply ask, our next steps are we will be bringing back a report to council for the December 12th meeting because that was the opportunity to do the advertising before the year end. And what I'm hearing is consensus to bring forward a resolution to move to the Tuesdays and set the schedule for that, which we can do. And of course, council is free to change that at that meeting, right? It's if there's any reason for why council is identifying that those dates aren't working necessarily, we would bring those forward at that time. That could be discussed, and it's not adopted until the resolution is adopted.
Thank you. And so just for my own edification, we would seek to hold both the regular council meeting and committee of the whole at the senior center.
Yes, yeah. And I'll bring forward that The one other consideration, which I didn't get into my report because I actually didn't fully consider it before the report was drafted, was once we start that, we'll probably start to look at bringing back a procedure bylaw resolution or amendment, which enables us to hold closed sessions before the regular meeting in order for us to hold them in this space before going across the street to the council, to the senior center. But that can be worked out as we get closer to the date. And if we don't get that amendment made in time, we would just have to ensure that when we're having a closed session, that we are creating an environment which is secure then.
Understood. Councilor Ramos, yeah.
So there is no option of actually taking this setup to the senior center. So the intent is still to have two options for us.
I think Mr. Bourne asked you for that on the motion.
There's not a lot of additional storage space at the senior center, so taking the modular tables doesn't make a lot of sense. As council now has been provisioned with laptops, that's a good part of the solution. But we do need to figure out, it's a larger space, and with public attending in person, we're going to have to figure out, what's the right webcam, speaker, and audio sound reinforcement solution there. And then B, what do we do about monitors to show presentations to council and the audience who would attend there, and then figure out the storage solution for those, along with the director for the Senior Center Association. Our preference as staff, I'd like to add, would be to maintain a workable meeting room here until such a time as it would be converted into either flexible workspace or another purpose. So not to empty the functionality of this room, as it is really heavily used throughout the day by departments and for meetings with developers, et cetera.
Thank you, Mr. Borowski. Yeah, that makes sense to me, not least of all, as you've just indicated, the potential for maintaining closed meetings in this room.
One minor housekeeping note from the report. I noticed that in the report, it says that AKBLG is in Kimberley next year. In fact, it's in Cranbrook.
Thank you. The December report better be true.
One of the questions there, Milligan. I'm just concerned about the amount of time for setup for staff and takedown and stuff like that. So is it, what are we estimating, an hour for people to set up and take down, and then?
It looks like Director Jansen.
Director Johnson.
Thank you, your worship, through to Councilor Nixon. That's part of our work that we're gonna do. If we are provided formal direction to seek this in that specific space, then we'll look at various options that include the technology and staffing and or contracted services to support that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? from council?
So last.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Don't apologize.
The $400 to $500 that we estimate, you just said for each session, will there be a look into whether we can actually reduce that cost also, like, or is that like a bare floor that you're thinking about?
If I may, your worship, I think it's Mr. McConnell who was talking about the lease or the
Yeah.
rental rate for this.
Right, so, and Councilor Ramadas, I was just asked to advise you if you could speak up a bit.
Oh, sorry. Oh, no, I meant the $400 to $500 that we have, is that like a floor or is it a ceiling? Like, can we think of a lower cost or?
Are we, if I may, are we
Please.
talking about the rent amount that I referenced?
Yeah, I mean, what Director Jensen said was a $400 to $500 cost, right? Like, so it's just wondering, like, where did we get that figure from?
No, sorry, if I may, well, I can, because I'm there. I think it was Mr. McConnell was saying that's the rental rate for the senior center
Okay,
is the $450 to
Okay.
$500 a month.
Yes, that was, and that provides us with 3 nights and the time window we would require for the meetings. That's what that rate was for. So if you're asking a specific question with respect to like other technology upgrades, is that what you're thinking about?
Well, I just wanted to get a sense of, how the expenditure would be. Is it, if it's rental $400 and an extra of whatever capital is required, I was just trying to get a sense of what the costs are.
Well, and as Director Jansen indicated, that will be part of the report in terms of both the labor and the technology upgrades.
Fair enough. Yeah.
But if I may, Your Worship, Director Jansen did just sort of indicate a very clear thing, which we probably would like some very clear direction on it. I'm assuming based on the conversation we've heard tonight that the consensus and direction is for us to pursue locating meetings at the senior center.
Correct. For clarity, that's certainly our intention.
Okay.
Councilor Kelly,
Well, it's our direction for cost estimates.
for the report. Correct.
So with that, with this direction I've received, the next steps was my last slide, and it wasn't present on there, and Deputy Clerk, I was going to say Phil/Daniel. Deputy Clerk Daniel just sent me the sort of resolutions you'd be seeking, but what I had indicated as next steps in my PowerPoint was that we will be bringing back reports for resolution. The one that will be coming back December 12th will be about the dates, and so we'll be preparing a report or an RFD, request for decision, for December 12th meeting, bringing forward that calendar with those dates, with the location still being here until such time as we're able to do that. And then I think if we ask for the following resolution, if I may, so that there's a specific direction. The council directs staff to investigate the cost of relocating council meetings to the Fernie Senior Citizens Center drop-in center. If I could ask council to consider that resolution.
Absolutely. Can I
I'll move that resolution.
Councilor Hamilton, Councilor Nixon, all in favor? So moved.
Great, thank you. And this is more questions. That's my report.
You have one question, Your Worship, for council to help us as Mr. McConnell and the team work on this report. The start times for the meetings are a question for me, and I just wanted to confirm we do have some availability earlier in the afternoon for setup if we do move. But is 4 p.m. start time for a committee of the whole too early or not early enough from council? And is the regular 7 p.m. start time for regular meetings too early? We did talk about dates, but I'm always interested to hear about start times to make sure that just because we're moving to a Tuesday, if that is your direction and what you then approve, 2 weeks time.
Councilor.
My question around start times also comes back to the idea of anything that's in camera or closed rather happening before the meeting, and would that shift the meeting time, or would the closed portion start at such times?
Through Councilor Hamilton, Your Worship. Potentially, and that would be part of the conversation, discussion around enabling all of that and ensuring that, because essentially what we need to do is we need to accommodate your schedules and ensure you're able to participate in the meetings fully. So potentially, yes. It would be one option available. If we found that we could not move it in advance of the regular agenda, then it could stay at the end, but then we will have to address some things around security and ensuring that either we're all coming back here or we're somehow closing off the building.
Understood.
As a point of discussion, I'm happy to continue with the current times. Happy to change it, however, going earlier in the day would cause conflict with family and other work commitments.
Yeah, understood.
The Mayor, I appreciate Mr. Bornowski's statements. Our availability of the senior center probably does not enable us to go earlier than 4 o'clock. So I think Mr. Bornowski was referencing the 7 p.m. do you want to start at 6, or the 4 o'clock do you want to start at 7? But generally speaking, if we're moving to that location, we have a 4 o'clock start as our start.
Councilor Ramdas.
Your worship, just my personal preference would be to start 6 p.m. No matter what, just because for me, I gotta commute to Fort River, it just makes my schedule a little bit challenging if it's a 7 p.m. start and it's at 10 p.m.
Understood.
Yeah, I can take it offline, but it's just a little bit of a personal thing for me.
Thank you.
I also have a similar issue with an earlier start,
With an earlier.
with an earlier start.
Start.
I won't necessarily know where I'll be on any given day before about 4 p.m. So,
Because of the nature of your work.
yes.
Councilor Nixon.
Thank you. I like the 6 o'clock. I like this, that would be good, consistent, 6 p.m.
Councilor Hamilton, would that work for you? Or is that a
I can make
challenge?
it work. I mean, 6 p.m. is a challenge for me, but that's like,
Sorry.
well, that's fine.
Councilor Keller.
I'm in support. I can, 7 is fine for me, and 4 is fine for me as well. If we need to go to 6, I'll make that work too.
Or not, sorry.
Yeah, no, please.
Are we talking moving all the meetings to 6 o'clock?
Yeah,
It's just
A
Tuesday,
universal
6 o'clock.
start.
And as long as it's consistent, then
Okay,
that's fine too.
good. Okay. Why don't we proceed on that basis then, Mr. Rowanowski?
Thank you very much.
As a, if I may, your worship, as a suggestion, if we do look at that, one of the things we could do is say that if we have a closed session, it would start at 6. And then the open session would start at 7. There's a potential opportunity as well. So I'm going to suggest that we'll review that. And if we do make an amendment to the bylaw, that might be one of the ways to go.
And that will be included ultimately in the report, that these are the options, these are the would be
Right,
the necessary amendments to the bylaw.
Well, if we, at the moment, I'm not going to recommend moving
No.
the bylaw around a bit. We can land on the dates and times. And then, once we actually get ourselves into position where we're moving our location, I think that's when we'll probably bring back a bylaw amendment as well for that specific consideration.
Understood. Okay, thank you. Okay. I think we've exhausted that subject. So moving on to item 7.2. Project engineer line, a curbside recycling collection program, transition to Recycle BC. Report from project line director, project engineer line.
Thank you, Mayor Milligan. I'm just going to try to share my screen. Can everyone see that?
We can.
Perfect, thank you. All right, hello, I'm Joanna Line, project engineer, and I'm here to provide council an update on staff progress on the process of changing where Fernie's curbside recycling goes from Green for Life to Recycle BC. As part of our existing waste collection contract with Green for Life, or GFL, Fernie's residential curbside recycling is now collected and sold to markets by GFL. Fernie is looking to transition where our recycling ends up. First, some background information on Recycle BC and why we are looking to transition. Since 2011, the BC Recycling Regulation, part of the Environmental Management Act, requires businesses that supply packaging and paper products to BC residents to assume responsibility for the cost of collecting, sorting, and recycling these materials. In 2014, Recycle BC was formed to help businesses meet these recycling obligations. It's a not-for-profit that collects and processes residential recycling. They serve over 2 million households in British Columbia already. We see them in our community already as well. There is a Recycle BC depot at the Fernie transfer station. Through the depot, the regional district receives reimbursement from Recycle BC based on the quantity of recycling collected. Our municipality qualifies for Recycle BC's curbside program, wherein curbside materials are delivered to the Recycle BC receiving facility and sold to markets there. Through this program, the city would qualify for incentives, including monetary payback, an increased variety of materials that are accepted curbside, as well as educational support for our community. Let's look at those incentives in greater detail. First, financial incentives. Through this program, the city would qualify for monetary payback based on the number of homes participating in the program. Staff are proposing to give this money back to residential households using our curbside collection system to reduce the waste and recycling service charge. We have an estimate of what the savings will be, approximately 94 cents per month, and it will be finalized during the transition. Secondly, Recycle BC accepts a greater variety of materials curbside. New materials include gable top cartons such as milk or molasses, frozen dessert boxes like ice cream bins, paper cups for hot and cold beverages and their lids foil, and Tetra Paks for things like soup or broth. Unfortunately, grocery bags will not be accepted in the transition. However, they are still accepted at the Fernie transfer station. And finally, with this transition, Fernie will be required to limit contamination in the curbside bins. Materials that are not accepted for collection are collectively referred to as contamination. So for example, after the transition, grocery bags would be referred to as contamination. So staff have created a holistic contamination program that proactively communicates collection program changes, requirements, and enforcement strategies to the community. It includes bylaw updates to bylaw 1845, the waste bylaw, and bylaw 2041, the ticket information bylaw that I will be bringing to council December 12th of this year. The plan will be supported by an educational subsidy of 75 cents per household per year supplied by Recycle BC. Coordination of an annual education program will be completed by the engineering departments and the communication departments.
A quick question about the materials that will be accepted. I know Recycle BC takes styrofoam at the transfer station. I'm curious if that will be part of the roadside or the curbside.
Mayor Milligan, through to Councillor, sorry, I cannot see the names right now. Councillor Hamilton, no, unfortunately, we will not be accepting styrofoam in the bins. That will still just be taken at the depot.
Thank you.
So I'll continue with transition implications. First, I'm going to say what will not change. There are no changes anticipated surrounding the collection mechanics and schedule of our curbside recycling program. GFL will remain the collector of curbside recycling for Fernie, but it will deliver those materials to the Recycle BC receiving facility. GFL will also continue to supply Fernie with recycling carts and service them. Under bylaw amendments and staff implications, our request for decision report will be brought to council on December 12th with proposed amendments to the waste regulation bylaw number 1845 and the municipal ticket information bylaw number 2041. The bylaw amendments will support the fee reduction and enforcement updates for this transition. The engineering, communication, and bylaw departments will be heavily involved in the transition and beyond to limit the contamination. For example, if contamination becomes an issue, staff plan to target the neighborhoods of concern with education, escalate to a curbside audit using city staff, and enforce the waste regulation bylaw if necessary. And finally, the engineering and communication departments will organize and carry out an annual education program with assistance from Recycle BC to support our community to limit contamination. Timing-wise, with council support, staff are targeting to complete the transition to Recycle BC in February of 2023. And to wrap things up, Staff are presenting this report to Council as supporting information for the future request for decision report for bylaw updates on December 12th of this year. We are supporting this transition to Recycle BC to benefit our community in two ways: increasing the variety of materials that can be recycled curbside and reducing the monthly waste and recycling fee to curbside users. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Engineer Line. Any other questions? Councillor Kelly?
Engineer line, would all of the things that we could collect curbside potentially already be able to be collected elsewhere?
Mayor Milligan, through to Councillor Kelly. I don't think I understand the question fully. Everything can be recycled at the depot or in our yellow bins. That is recycled curbside. Does that answer your question?
Yes, like the additional items that we would now be able to collect curbside, we can already recycle elsewhere, yes?
Mayor
I think-
Milligan, through to Councillor Kelly, yes, they are already accepted at the depot.
So this has the advantage of you can now put a lot of that material curbside that you saves you a trip to the depot.
Yes.
Follow?
Just follow up. Do we have any estimate of the impact to staff? That will be, you mentioned about enforcement and checking. So that's going to be time and money for staff. So I'm just wondering if the cost benefit analysis, has that been done?
Mayor Milligan, through to Councillor Kelly. No, that specific cost benefit analysis has not been completed.
Councillor Ramadis.
In terms of contamination rate, what's the current contamination rate and why 3%? Is it the standard? Just curious to know.
Mayor Milligan, through to Councillor Ramadas. So the 3% rate is set by the Recycle BC contract. And currently we do not know our current contamination rate because we don't accept the same stuff that we will with the Recycle BC contract. However, we are thinking of doing an audit with city staff early on in the program to determine the potential contamination rate that Fernie does have.
Councillor Nixon.
Thank you, Mayor Milligan. I'm just curious about the big yellow bins around the community. There was a few years ago, there was some discussion about getting rid of those. I was wondering if somebody on staff could help me out with that.
Mayor Milligan, through to Councillor Nixon, unfortunately, this is only focusing on curbside recycling, so I cannot give you an update on that.
Director Logan.
Thank you, Worship, to Councillor Nixon. I would love to bring back a report about the status of community bins. They are regularly overflowing, and there are some costs for having staff go clean them up. So that's something that I oversee as a facility manager. So I would be willing to bring something back to council.
Yeah, please do. Director Jens.
Thank you, Mayor Logan. To clarify, Director Logan is referring to the waste collection, and the yellow bins are actually part of the REK waste
Right.
services. So it would be looking at their service delivery plan, and we pay them through requisition.
Right. Yeah. Engineer Line, if I may, so we hope to have this all finalized and in place by February. And there is a communications plan either in place or being developed. And I trust there will be, before we start finding people, there will be a part of the education process will be helping people understand what can and cannot be included in the bins and ensuring that we've done the best possible job to help people understand the change.
Yes, Mayor Milligan. As part of our communication plan, it is like first to tell everybody of the changes upcoming and having, setting fines on people is our last choice. That is not what everyone would go forward with as a first thing at all. So yes, you are in line with our plan.
Thank you.
If I may on that, your worship of council, generally, once a municipality moves into Recycle BC, there's the benefit of receiving some funds for the recycling service we currently pay for and then don't receive any funds for, and that helps reduce the fee to the residents. There is funding for kickoff communication and then ongoing communication at 75 cents per collection household, and that's not a lot, but it is enough to create good, compelling content that could be inserted along with utility bills, reminders of what goes where. It's a very standard practice when municipalities, and it has not happened a lot, they happen in waves, join Recycle BC. You apply to be accepted. Once they accept you, you work on your budget and your communication plan to roll out what goes where guides and do your public communication. But then the contamination is identified through our audits of our users who have curbside collection and Recycle BCs. And what happens first is they will communicate with the city or the municipality, if it wasn't a city, on the communication, on the contamination levels generally first, before you would start to see fines from Recycle BC or start to take action enforcing with your community. And there's lots of opportunity for engagement campaigns around what goes where. Is this crinkly plastic in the bin or not? Is this stretchy plastic? You know.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Bronowski. Any other questions?
Just one more question. So the 75 cents per house is not a lot of money for education. I'm just wondering about the 93 cents per month. I don't know what people are going to do with all that money, but that reduction of cash, I was just wondering if we could put that, if it's mandatory to go back, or if we can put that into education as well. Because I mean, honestly, 93 cents per month is what is that?
Not noticeable.
Not very noticeable. $11 a year. Is it mandatory?
That I don't know. Mr. Bronowski.
Your worship, if I may, Ms. Line and the team working on the transition can bring an answer to that question specifically back when we bring the report for decision as staff to council. There may be a requirement that the GF or that the Recycle BC fees go reducing the fees to curbside customers as part of the program. I haven't looked at what those financial requirements are, but we can summarize that for you.
Thank you, Mr. Bronowski. And while it doesn't sound like a lot, 94 cents a month returned to on a utility bill is not it's not nothing in times of hyperinflation. So it's something to certainly keep in mind. Returning money to our community is not a bad strategy.
Thank you.
Because as I understand it, the 75 cents will be received regardless as part of the education package.
That's correct.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions? Thank you, Engineer Line.
Thank you all.
The next item of business, I will ask for a resolution to close the meeting. That council close the meeting to the public pursuant to section 90, sub 1, sub E of the community charter as the subject matter relates to the acquisition, disposition, or expropriation of land or improvements. I have a mover, please. Councilor Hamilton, seconded by Councilor Ramadas. All in favor? Thank you. We will now go into a closed session.